Hello, everyone, and welcome. The first of maybe many, maybe one GregX. And the idea of this is to put out just, information, stuff that I've researched about, to share it with people on the team, and also to share it with people that we are working with and people in our network, to kind of just to share and learn from each other and to get shared understanding about how we do things. So I thought the first most important thing to talk about was integral theory, and to just give a brief overview. And I'm doing that through beginning with spiral dynamics, because it's the easiest kind of gateway drug to integral theory. So I'm here with my team, with Tomasz. Introduce yourself, Tomasz.
Hello, I'm Tomasz.
Brilliant.
Even though I'm called Greg Blair on my screen,
Exactly.
because I've hijacked Greg's account. He's got premium. Sorry, Greg.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on a team with Connect Digital for a while now, and really enjoying the way we work. That's one of the main reasons for me to join, and that's why I'm also keen to have this discussion and share with people a different way of structuring an organization, which I think is really valuable.
Thank you, sir. And we got Tina. Hi.
Hi, my name is Christina, or Teen, as the team calls me. I've been working with Connect for a little over a year now, I think, and I'm excited to join. This is my first GregX, so we're going to be learning about integral theory. I'm really excited, so yay.
Thank you, Tina. And Clay.
Yeah, what's up? So didn't know we were doing introductions.
I just decided to do it now.
Yeah, happy to be here. You know, it's not my first rodeo. Kind of the founder of GregX's. I'm the man behind the scenes, the curtains, and gonna get my learn on.
Cool. Okay, so I've got a few slides. I've got one slide for each color, but I'll just begin with a general overview of what the spiral dynamics is, and then I'll move on to the slides in each color. So spiral dynamics basically came out of research done by a researcher called Clare Graves. He was a contemporary of Abraham Maslow, as in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And like Maslow, he was interested in sort of this developmental phases, or kind of like a maturation of human beings, how the psyche develops. And so Graves was a university lecturer, and he decided to study his own students, which is actually pretty funny. Which, like, some of the stuff now would be considered kind of unethical, but basically what he did was he wouldn't tell any of his students, and he would get in, say, his first year students into his class, and he would give them specific assignments. And the assignments would be like, write what a good person is, or what it means to be a valuable human being. This kind of thing. I've not quoted that exactly right, but it's in this general direction. So people would have to go home, write a paper on what they think, a valuable human being is, or what it means to live, or what their basic kind of philosophy is, and then present that as and get it graded, basically. But what they didn't know was Graves was using this for research, and was just collecting all of these papers. So he'd collect all the papers. He'd get independent researchers who didn't know about the project to, like, categorize them into whatever meaningful categories they could find, and then they had to come back with unanimous categories of, like, we've come up with these categories and we've put these papers in this, and why, and basically these are the things, the commonalities that we found across these ones. So yeah, so they came up with these buckets, and he did this a bunch of times. and then he basically kept finding the same kind of categories. They could group people by these specific things, by what they value, by how they see the world, by the things that they care about, how they reason about things, could be put into these buckets. And then after that, because a lot of these students would come back for his second and third and fourth year classes, he would continue testing them in this way. And what he saw was that there was, people might move from moral stance like A to B and B to C, but people wouldn't move backwards really from C to B or B to A. So there was a development in sort of maturity, a development in sophistication and complexity of how people saw things. That's the general gist of it. And also what he did, it was quite funny, like so he'd have, after the first year, he'd have people already categorized later on, after he already had a bunch of knowledge. So he'd have like a yellow group, a green group, and he'd put those people together into groups, and then he'd just watch them and just see like, how did they solve problems? And they had no idea. They were just guinea pigs for the whole year. But so after he had the categories, and he would study them and see what other traits came up, basically. So that's the basic research. And so later, researcher Don Beck and Cowan, I think it is, they then took this research and made it more accessible and applied it in more places. They added colors, and they made it more applicable, and they used it in business to help give more understanding between people and how different people value different things. And also they've used it in politics. I know Beck used it in the apartheid transition in South Africa, because there you've got a lot of people coming from a lot of different developmental levels. You've got tribal peoples, you've got more like rationalist, you've got more sort of like our traditional sort of religious types. So all this big melting pot, and to make policies that fit all these people. So that's how it became spiral dynamics. And then how it relates to integral theory is something for later, but basically integral theory uses spiral dynamics and also other developmental models to talk about how humans develop in general. That's a rough intro to this.
So question is this, question. Do all the humans, according to this research, develop in the same general direction?
Yeah.
And
yes.
Also, is that related to just the fact that they have studied and they're learning more, or just the fact that years have passed, or is it related to learning?
Okay, so on the first question, so most people in this research would answer yes, it applies to all humans across all cultures, because that was kind of the interesting thing for them, was because it came on the back of a question of like, are we just completely different, beings when we grew up in different cultures? You've got indigenous tribes. Mm-hmm. Are we just totally unable to understand that from our Western perspective? Or is there an underlying system an underlying structure to how human beliefs develop? And that's I think that's the interesting thing behind integral and spiral dynamics, is that it shows, even though, for instance, you might have two very different sets of beliefs, like Christianity and Islam. So they can really conflict about those beliefs. They're coming from a similar structure. So they think about things in a similar way. They construct knowledge in a similar way. So they take it from authority. They organize their society in a similar way. So that's the general idea. Although it is, there is criticism that there's not enough research showing that it's that this is not just a sort of Western-centric body of research. I mean, Graves, for instance, he just studied Western psych students, so it's not a good enough body of knowledge. But there's other developmental models which study cross culture. Okay, so these fall into basically 8 categories. So I will get my slides, share my screen. So to begin with, we have beige. And so this is basically, you know, so the time frame is 150,000 years ago, but I guess that's, you know, like 300,000 years ago. They're saying now is when, yeah, when we've sort of first evolved into our own species. But this is sort of when we were loose bands of, yeah, just loose bands of Homo sapiens trying to survive. All we could do is basically look after our basic needs. So it's instinctive, automatic. There's not a lot of complex cognition that goes into it. And the key, yeah, the key need is just to survive. And yeah, the worldview is natural and instinctive. And yeah, the life theme satisfies physiological needs and sexual drive. So it's just your basic needs, and there's not a lot of complexity there. Also because there's not a lot of time to do that. You're basically running away from, yeah, lions and snakes, and you're still basically an animal compared to other animals. And the idea with this biodynamics is that, you know, these systems are, it was originally made to meet the life conditions at the time. And then those systems still exist within us. So for instance, in modern life, beige you see in newborn children, but also people in severe crisis situations, where it's just about surviving. You just need to meet your basic needs. Also an example given is like bum in the street. It's not, he doesn't, like, he's just looking to yeah, meet his basic needs. Above that, not really much else. And yeah, so, and also us, you know, if we go into a situation with a high amount of danger, then this system would take over, and it's just like fight or flight, or yeah, find shelter, find food. Yeah. Any questions around beige?
No. Sounds pretty basic, beige.
Yeah. I think I can answer the education question then, because beige took not that much time. So the question was basically, does education move you through these stages?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Then absolutely. But I think it's more like there's and they write about this. What are the factors needed for change? So definitely that the education is part of that, but you also have to kind of have the right life conditions, you know. So someone, well, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, just the fact that you have education, it already means you're in a different color than beige, for example, right?
Yeah. That you can, exactly, and that you can even fathom modern education means that you've progressed further, because if you took someone that's beige right now and tried to educate them, that wouldn't really work, because the capacities are not really there yet. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the next system that comes is purple, and you know, the estimate here is about 40,000 years ago, and here we're talking about when we're talking about the cognitive revolution. So when we started to really form, our survival needs are starting to be sort of amply met. But then, you know, there's also a lot more of us, of humans, and the needs start to be for, rather than just survival, it becomes more about safety and security. So this is where you see sort of tribal living, clan living, magical. The worldview is I'll start on the life philosophy actually. So the life philosophy: seek harmony and safety in a mysterious world within the family, clan, and or tribe. So yeah, if you're talking about tribes, then there's this sort of animistic, magical type of thinking, a lot of stuff to do with spirits, and yeah, basically that. The worldview is the world is a mysterious and frightening place and is controlled by mystical spirit beings that need to be satisfied and pleased. The life motto is I sacrifice myself for the sake of the clan and the existential reality. And the life theme to secure the survival of the family. One thing I forgot to mention about spiral dynamics is that there seems to be this this swing in each stage. From one is ego focused, and then one is more group focused. So where you sacrifice yourself for the needs of the group, and then it seems to move back to a more ego sacrifice group for myself and onwards. So purple is the first one where you start to see people, you know, the needs of the individual is sacrificed for the group. Yeah, it tends to be ruled by, you know, the clan elders. It's a lot to do with like the ancestors, family history, and it's about safety. And I got, so there's a website where they did a mega thread of examples from each of the colors. So I'm gonna read off a few different things. So yeah, so example of purple values, mystery, spirit realm, rites of passage, sacred objects and places, myth and share stories, wisdom of the elders, sacred words. And you know, we see this also in our modern day development, where we see it is like younger children, you know, Santa Claus, like fairy tales, ghost stories. We all go through this phase of magical thinking, and sort of, yeah, also, yeah, this sort of magical thinking as we're growing up. And then you also have in adulthood as well, purple comes into play with things like sort of superstition. You know, people are still, you know, superstitious still. You know, watching, say, magical film. I like fantasy, so I think this is can be a little bit like purple. Yeah, horror films, ghost stories, all this kind of stuff is from this meme.
I also see in there like a respect for elders and their wisdom and experience, for example.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So that's like basic values
that
are group related.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and you see the examples here. You have a lot of things to do with tribes. You also have Pocahontas in there. You got Legend of Zelda.
Blood oaths.
Blood oaths. Yeah, so you see it in gang stuff, you know, like a lot of people satisfy this purple safety needs, like in specific like low income areas through like gang bonds, blood bonds, this kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the purple meme. An interesting thing I learned recently is that quite often in new companies, new startups, before you have like established rules about how things function, it's quite often this based on purple type of rules. So it's about like the kind of the shared like little rituals or little ways of seeing things, customs that kind of bond people together. And there can be a very much like in-group, out-group thing. And if you don't follow these implicit rules, then you're sort of out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that a lot of companies are really tribalistic, and yeah, there's kind of almost like a hazing, ritualistic sort of like Greek structure in colleges. I also notice follow this same kind of thing with like, you're a part of our tribe, our group, our family, and you need to be one of us. And
yeah, that's a really good example, actually. Yeah, like sororities and fraternities and stuff, right? There's this, yeah, definitely. That's definitely, I think, a purple type of thing. Yeah. So any questions on this? No?
No.
Cool. Okay. And so now I will move to red. Yeah,
this
so
one scares me, bros.
Yeah, this one's crazy. Yeah, this one is really like
common.
so where purple was like the group focus, this is now again the self focus. So so basically from the life conditions of the purple, like, you know, you meet the safety needs, you band together into tribes, and then you manage to stabilize things. You stabilize your tribe, your kin, and then you ensure the family line lasts and continues. But in purple systems, things can become kind of stifling. You know, there's just a way that we've done it. We've always done it. Everyone should listen to the elders. You know, you've got to do things according to the way, according to the tradition. And I guess this can be stifling. Oh, we've got one more guest joining us.
Mr. Callum.
Mr. Callum. Welcome, Callum.
Hi. I'm late.
No problem. Better late than never, as they say. Yeah. So we've moved on to the red system now, Callum. I think you've had a little intro to this before, so.
Yeah. I've read a few articles.
Nice, cool. So I'm just talking about the red system. So the purple system can be stifling. So this kind of leads to the conditions where you see red starting to come out. And this is basically warlords. Like when we were, back like 10,000 years ago, where you had this sort of, warring, like just big sort of, kind of empires, kingdoms, because the empires always do kind of getting to a bit blue, but just warring sort of kingdoms,
like clans.
Warring exactly
clans.
Warring, and now we're talking. So we're thinking, Genghis Khan, who else? Just like
so this is after you establish the safety of your own group. Then you can try and attack others.
Exactly. Then it leads to this sort of like more egocentric, like drive for power and glory. Alexander the Great conquering everything. There's just really this
like God kings. Kings, like where there's divine rights. It was the Babylonians, Babylonians, the Syrians, Sumerians.
Exactly.
All of that. Well, even up until until the rise of empires, I would assume. Then it becomes more political structure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just wholly like influenced by power rather than idea.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're exactly right. God kings, and it's really this thing of being like, the ego becomes this godlike creature, and people also project on you. They see your glory, that you're this wonderful, amazing being like Alexander the Great, who's but essentially by murdering hundreds and thousands of people, it's just like the Reds value system comes with a lot of warfare.
I wonder, sorry, I have a question. Like, where would like the Crusades or the witch hunts fit in? Because that's like surrounding like religious beliefs and like converting someone to your belief or killing them? Like, would that fall into red, or is that like?
That's a good point. That comes at blue, which is the next stage. But I think that's sort of like a kind of mixture between red and blue. There's the blue,
Right.
as we'll see, is sort of like concerned with divine order, and this, it's about the monotheistic religion, but yet Crusades is very, it's very bloodthirsty, and it seems a bit kind of like a red type of move. Yeah, that's a good one. So the life philosophy: I only trust myself and what I want now. Core values: egocentric, exploitative, impulsive. A worldview: the world is a jungle, survival of the fittest. Life motto: I'm taking charge without taking others into account. And life theme: immediate gratification of impulses and senses and fight for my own interest. So yeah, it's really about satisfying your own needs. And I guess the upside of that is, just the upside is satisfying your own needs. So, you get what you want. You dare to want more, and then you go out and take it. And you see that in modern day with, in development of children, you see it with the terrible twos, this like, no. And you also, I guess, in this sort of like aggressive, moody teenager type that just goes out and breaks the rules and fuck you. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, is this from the perspective of the human evolution? The egocentric is the view from within the group? Are we talking about here, or from within the individual?
How do you mean?
Well, because in the purple phase, it's about forming a clan or a group, or having basically a social structure, and then afterwards comes more of an ego focused. But you could say it's more focused on the ego of your group versus the other group. Groups.
I mean, that's a part of it. Yeah, it's ego on the individual level of like, I satisfy my own needs, and basically the one at the top is the the glorious the sort of winner. But at the same time, you have, you are part of a group and part of a tribe, and it's about us taking everything we can get. And that's egocentric, I guess, in itself, the ego of the group. Yeah, it's a good point. I'll just take a couple of examples from the thread, mega thread. Let's see, we have Trump. That's classic. Saddam Hussein. Yakuza, the mafia, Chinese emperors, toxic narcissists. Some people never come out of red, actually. So, and then you really just you I guess you're not fully socialized, so you don't really consider the needs of the culture or the group.
That's like, is that like a Freudian thing or something, that like the reality principle is the ability to defer your immediate pleasure for later pleasure? That's being civilized.
That's a great one, Callum. Because that was given in the course I did recently as a good example, that someone that is coming from the red stage, that's not gone to the move to the blue stage, isn't able, they're not able to defer pleasure to a later point. They need the gratification right now. So it's like, have the cupcake now, or have two in a day or something. Then it's like now, or have two in an hour. Whatever. I'm not good with examples.
Or even not eat the cupcake because you'll get a better overall health. Like,
exactly. Yeah, it's very like me nowism. Rambo, I see in there, Terminator. Oh yeah, actually, all the I feel like in movies and stuff, like people love red stuff. So like Quentin Tarantino stuff, blood and guts. People go for that stuff. Also, I think
it's
reality.
Primal.
Yeah, it's primal. I think also reality TV is a lot of red. And I think in when it's not about violence, I think it's also just about looking good, being famous, all these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I got quotes from Graves' original research. So actual quotes from his students where he like asked them to write about what a good human being is. So I took some. So this is someone that's red, but just coming from purple and go. So just enter red. But this gives you an idea of how they see the world. So, oh, and I'm going to read these quotes with a different voice so you can get a sense of them. Life is a jungle. One goddamn great big jungle. It's survival of the fittest, and that is all. Anybody who does not recognize this is not or will never be a grown-up person. Life is competition. It is fight and struggle and take it, hang on. Some they have got it there and way through it, and some they don't have it. The grown-up, he survives, or go down big, and in trying, he's got it. He's the guy who fights to get what he needs, and he keeps it after it till he gets it. If he wants some chick, he don't take no. He wears her down. One thing about him is he don't chicken. He don't let fear stand in his way.
Oof.
Damn.
Oh
my God, tiny PP.
Yeah, true. True that. So that's a little red quote for you. I feel like I'm being hard on red. That's partly because I don't feel like I'm fully integrated in myself, so I don't fully get it. But like, you know, essentially there's good aspects and bad aspects of all of these levels. It's just
well, maybe you could associate it with the competition or something, red, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
irrational will to compete, like football or something.
Yeah. I think irrational competition.
World Cup final.
Yeah, and because we'll get to orange, which is also about competition, and a good way to differentiate them is in red. Red doesn't care about the rules, so they want to win at any cost. Whereas where you get to orange later, they actually want the rules because they want to win within those defined rules. But
Red's like Suarez when he bites people.
Yeah, exactly. Suarez biting people. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, then we got blue. So blue is blue, the life philosophy is live according to the way and the truth and serving the doctrine and doing duty with an eye on the future rewards. So the life conditions that give way to blue is with red, you've basically got chaos. Like it's every man for himself, you know, getting what he needs and what he wants. And that leaves destruction. It leaves, you know, lots of people killed, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And then that gives rise to the need for blue, which brings in order and stability. So the core values: authoritarianism, holy, meaningful, worldview. The world is well organized, purposeful, and subjected to holy divine laws, which will punish evil and will reward the correct way of living. Life theme: to discover meaning and purpose in life and searching for order, security, and stability. Life motto: I sacrifice myself to the way for a deferred reward. So again, this is self-sacrificing. And in civilization, this is where you start to get law and order coming in. You get organized religion, like monotheism. And there's this, you know, there's this book and there's this way of how to live your life. There's a moral code, 10 commandments. And you act well now so that you get a deferred reward in the future. And that tends to be, you know, within a religion, you know, you go to heaven if you're a good person on earth. You know, it's a lot about what happens after death. And this is sort of where people start to get a sense of meaning. So, you know, what I do is meaningful here because of this ultimate purpose, this sort of in the eyes of God, and Yeah. So I think meaning starts to become important here.
It's also when they start thinking about future, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As soon as present is kind of assured, you can think about future, I guess.
Exactly, and and then as a society, because you can now think about the future, you can take on massive projects. Like I look at I'm looking out the window now, and you can see blue meme in the buildings. So in the churches that are built, these massive structures, and you think about like how much time and effort and planning and will has to go into that, and the vision has to be so clear to erect such buildings. And it's the same with all religion. There's so much work that goes into this, because of this future thing. And also then in society you can plan much more, and you get a lot more process, formal roles coming into society, and you can do a lot more as well. So I'm thinking of like Roman civilization. They just smashed everybody. They smashed them because they were just so like well organized. And so like the centurions, they just like acted as a unit, and they just smashed them. And they brought the baths. So yeah. So any questions at the moment?
So I guess how do you translate this, for example, to an organization in blue color?
Yeah, so you still get organizations today that are blue. So it tends to be like where you have highly formalized roles and there's not a lot of social mobility. So in the church, there's really like the church or the army tends to be like these specific roles, and then you can move through the ranks, but it's less flexible than say in a modern corporation or something like that. That's the main area.
Thinking like a Japanese business structure, traditional.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of blue in Japanese, the way that the Japanese do things. Very traditional and very formalized. Yeah. So, and then I'm going to give you some examples of blue. So give me my blue thread. Oh, don't do this to me. I can reload this. Okay, while that's loading, I'm going to give you the quote. So I'll do this in a different voice, which characterizes and also humiliates the meme. You're supposed to do these talks with being like really like open and understanding of each meme because it's about communication, but I'm just going to do it in a funny way. It is my honest belief that what a mature personality is determined by, that power which determines good and evil in the world. God created man, and God has indicated in his 10 commandments the principles by which the human should live. It is not for me to decide what God pretended. If God had wanted man to decide, he would have indicated that. He would not have commanded. So this is a guy writing the essay for Graves. Yeah, so it also shows like how the way that you get your knowledge is also, you really you defer it to the authority, or you defer it to the book that tells you how things are, how the world is, and how you should behave in the world. Okay, so orange. The life philosophy is, I am responsible for my own wealth, and that is why I develop my skills. I think, therefore I exist. So orange, so the life conditions of blue is basically you create civilizations, and civilizations are, they function well, and they provide safety from the chaos of red. You get order, you get a good degree of wealth being built up, I guess. But it's also very stifling. It's very pious as well, tends to be. So there's a way you do things, and you don't get to express yourself if it conflicts with what's acceptable to the culture. So yeah, I'm thinking of very staunch religious societies where you don't get a lot of ability to express yourself, or so core values are autonomy, materialistic, results driven; paradigm, success, I improve myself; worldview, the makeable world is full of chances and opportunities, and the world can be fully understood by using rational thinking; life theme, accumulate material abundance, individual freedom, and grab opportunities; life motto, I manifest myself through artful calculation. So yeah, you see the orange mean coming through in like the Industrial Revolution, the Enlightenment, and it's more moves towards the self-focused, but it's satisfying the self's needs, but within the general rules of civilized culture. So enterprise, the entrepreneurial spirit, trying to make the most of myself, while at the same time playing by the rules. So this is basically capitalism, as we know it nowadays. Corporations, materialism, and it's about rational self-interest. So it's about making the most of what you can in this life. I think it's interesting in terms of the worldview. In the orange worldview, you're sort of moving away from the dogmatic religion, the monotheism. So I think a lot of people that move to the orange worldview tend to then be atheistic. So religion is now rejected, and it's very much about do what we can in this life, because there's not afterlife doesn't exist.
This one makes me think of like Wall Street in the 90s or something.
Yeah.
Because I'd say that most people today, even if they subscribe by it, they still, it's just, religion has been, even though it is important in their lives, it's just been replaced as the primary motivation, because it's 80% people in the US still will claim that, but still subscribe by the kind of the rules of the Enlightenment, or the ideas of the Enlightenment, and liberalism in general. In the economic sense, not the political sense. But,
definitely. There's I think a lot of people nowadays see the downsides of orange, because that's because those are becoming quite obvious. So I'm going to read the quote because I think that's kind of funny. Okay, so this is someone that's entering orange from blue. The mature personality is the clear thinking person who makes decisions on the basis of fact. The mature does not let emotion overrule his reason. The mature personality thinks about the things that are important, not about a lot of muddle-headed abstractions. He stands for the tried and true and against those who, through their muddle-headed thinking, would question the established purposes and virtue of man. It's interesting because when I was looking at the answers for orange, they all then start to be in list form. So their answers tend to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you get this you really see this rational type of thinking coming in, where it's very scientific and pointed, and so that's a taste of orange, baby. On a green.
Perfect.
Okay. So green is basically the solution to the orange life condition. So orange creates a ton of wealth, brings a ton of people into the middle class, and it's technology through the roof, but yet that takes a toll on the planet itself. So you like basically there's problems with like climate change, destroying ecosystems, all this stuff in terms of hurting the planet. It also has this power of making huge gaps in equality. While the general wealth is increased, the inequality can go up. So where the richest few have own a massive ton of the resources, and internally there's this thing in Orange where like you basically get everything that you want, like you're winning the game, and then after you win the game you realize like, oh, this actually didn't satisfy me really, like this didn't really satisfy me. And you're I guess you can kind of be a bit lonely because it's lonely at the top, and you start to look for something, you look for more meaning, and then this is where the green comes in. I would love to show this clip, but I think like one of the best examples of like what it feels like to go from the orange to the green meme is like that song Stonehenge. Why did they build the Stonehenge? I'm going to do that in another talk, but that's basically classic. Like you got everything, but then he's like, oh, but there's this mystery, and like, why did they build the Stonehenge? And like, oh, and then yeah, this is kind of green. So green tends to be this like, you start to you're searching for more meaning. So then it gives rise to this like a lot of new age stuff, spirituality, like the hippie movement, also a deeper concern for human beings, deepest concern for feelings, empathy, and you get a lot of like going off the grid. So I'm done with the capitalist system. I'm gonna start my own community where we care about people. And yeah, so it's basically the hippies. The hippies did it already ages ago. It's also in philosophy. It's also, you know, from after the Enlightenment, modernist thinking, you have the postmodernist thinking coming in. Yeah, which is another aspect of it. And so life philosophy, I feel emotions, therefore I am alive. In essence, everyone is equal. Oh yeah, they hate hierarchy. They love everyone being equal. Everyone gets a turn. In organizations, you have green. If you have a lot of green, then it's great because you get a concern for you know, each individual and their place in the company, and you know, their own like sort of personal contribution. But in terms, and everyone's voice gets heard, but in terms of decision making, it can be quite a bit, it can be tedious because you need to listen to everyone, you do consensus decision making, and then nothing moves and things can stagnate. So that's a common issue for green, is that things can get stagnant. Yeah. I will move on to the quote. Any questions for now?
So is everyone like an opposite reaction to the one that came before? Like...
Great question, Callum. Great question. So this is a key thing for integral, which is basically integral theory is about transcend and include. So you go through these three stages where you're first fused with a stage. So say you're fused with orange, so you are that stage. Then you go in a phase of differentiation. So you differentiate yourself from the previous stage. So you say, I'm not orange. So you see it for what it is as you're moving to the next stage. And then you go to integration. So you see you're not orange, but you can integrate parts of that into yourself. But what quite often happens at the differentiation stage is that you dissociate, and then you really go like, I'm completely not that, I hate that. And then, so quite often if you're in the next stage, you have an allergy to the stage before. So, I mean, the hippies, they hate capitalism. They don't like it.
But the same goes for the previous one to the one after, right?
Yeah, for the previous stages. You mean like orange to blue? Like, yeah, I mean.
Well, I mean, yeah, the people, yeah, let's say the capitalists hate the hippies as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't understand them as well. There's there's good maps between like what happens between each of the colors, like how they each perceive them, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I mean, basically, orange thinks that green is like just like are just like soft and yeah, naive and dreamy and what did you say, Christina?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes, exactly.
Snowflakes, yeah.
Yeah. And also, orange can really hate blue as well. I mean, like, rationalist, sort of like modernist like thinkers can really hate religious people because they're like, what the fuck? You guys are stupid.
Yeah, they don't understand.
Yeah. So cool. And so I've got a quote for green. The mature personality is participating, creative personality, which in its operation does justice to every type of personality, every mode of culture, every human potential, without forming anyone into typological modes. The mature personality provides a means for bringing relations of reciprocity and willing amity to the entire family of human beings. The mature provides for the interchange and utilization of the entire experiences of humankind. He or she lives in a moral world which tears down man-made barriers of law and custom, widening the means of communication and cooperation between humans. So you do see the increasing complexity of the worldviews. I mean, this is actually, it is a really complex worldview if you are actually fully in green, and it's it's pluralistic. It understands that there are different cultures, different ways of seeing things. Yeah, so that's green for you. Yellow, aka teal. So teal is the integral. They basically just change the colors, which is really annoying. So if you hear teal organization, that's basically means also yellow organization. And so, by the way, can you see me because the lights turned off? Yeah, cool. So, yellow, the life philosophy. I am searching for freedom and embrace integral space and complexity. So the life conditions of green is basically green creates this space of, it's really interesting actually, green, because we're actually seeing what green does now in the current climate, and it's creating the life conditions for yellow to emerge. So green, because it's a pluralistic worldview, it flattens hierarchy, it dissolves old hierarchies, and it gives up space for all these different worldviews, all these ways of seeing things. So the internet is somewhere where basically any viewpoint can be said, and what's happening now is that you have all these different truths, and it's come to the point where people feel that there's actually no truth, and that's something that that you hear people that have gone green, they will often claim that there's no objective truth, there's no absolute truth, but that's known as a performative contradiction, because in making that claim, you're actually making a truth claim, objective, truth claim. So, so in this post-truth, so internet world, you see just everything comes up. So like, we've got the QAnon, Trump elected as a leader. No one knows like what to believe. You have all these different, and people can convene in any platform they want. And so it can, while it opens up for more complexity and more maturity, it also has this effect of a bit of chaos because no one knows what to believe. So the thing that yellow does is that it integrates. So it says, okay, while there's relativity to truth, you know, there's cultural there's cultural aspects of truth. Truth also depends on language, on how we construct things. There are ways to integrate. There are ways to come to a common understanding, and there are better ways and there's worse ways of doing things. And so the yellow, it starts to like integrate everything together, whereas green just made space for everything. So core values: systemic, integral, emergent, paradigm, synergy, I'm learning, worldview: the world is a complex, self-organizing natural system that requires integral solutions. So people that are in yellow start to see the world as sort of in a systemic, and they see a lot of things in terms of ecologies and like networks and things like this. And yeah, and everything is a system. So yeah, so it's the important thing is the functioning of the whole system. And you know, getting something absolutely perfect is not possible, but you can find a way to have a healthy ecology, essentially. So, and in terms of the yellow person, it's again self-focused. So they are basically actualizing themselves for the good of the whole. So they are bringing out the best parts of themselves, their fullest self, for the benefit of the world and yeah, life itself, shall we say. I think we should look at some examples of yellow because we don't have a quote, because Graves didn't give me a quote. Let's see, yellow. Here's some values: nuance, complexity, fresh insights, going meta, connecting the dots, ecology, responsible ways of being, spiral dynamics, natural hierarchies, context, left-brained, vision and purpose, self-actualization, paradox, being a lone wolf. Yellow stage examples: Abraham Maslow, Noam Chomsky, quantum mechanics. What else do we have? Let's see. Wikipedia, yeah, that's a great one. That I think, yeah, Wikipedia is, I was thinking about this the other day, is such a good example, because it's like, it takes, you know, this dispersed knowledge, but it also puts in some ways that knowledge can be like integrated and made better. So it's got criteria for what a good article needs to have in, and sources and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, Star Trek, humans and Vulcans in the Star Trek. Oh, by the way, Star Trek was based, like a lot of the stuff was based on Claire Graves' yeah, research. So they made the cultures based on that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Ferengis would probably have been like a red, right?
Yeah. Then sustainable living, Shinzen Young's mindfulness system, Jacques Derrida. That's one for you, Callum, the philosopher.
Oh yeah.
Elon Musk, Joe Rogan he's put in here. That's yeah. Don't know if everyone would agree with that. Okay, so that's yellow, and I will move on to turquoise now, if I can just see it. Oh, my voice, my throat's starting to get sore from this. Okay, turquoise. So the life philosophy: energetic connections are necessary to experience and embody wholeness and unity. What? So their core values are global view, renewal, holistic, we are, worldview, the world is a grid of mutually interdependent units which together form a holistic organism. Life theme, a dynamic balance between being and becoming. Life is good as it is, and at the same time, everything must, of course, change completely. Development, spiritual intelligence, energetic fields, presence, and resting in being. So yeah, I mean, it's quite hard to understand turquoise, and like, you know, this recent course that I did, they said that because we don't really see, we start to see yellow a bit in society, so you can start to talk about it more, but turquoise, we don't really see it at, you know, at all emerging in society. You just see it coming through in individuals, so it's hard to really get a full sense of what it entails. But I think it's just, it tends to be this like deeper holism, and a deeper, whereas in yellow you're looking at the world and you're trying to come up with solutions to fix world problems. Turquoise is looking at it as just a globe and solution to fit the entire globe, not just like regions or aspects of the thing. And yeah, I think we should move to examples to get a sense of this. So we have turquoise here. Okay, turquoise values: consciousness, elevating mankind's consciousness; truth, deep metaphysical insight; wisdom, the wisdom of nature; mysticism, non-duality; left and right brain synthesis; being versus knowing, doing, having; collaborative synergy; intuition. Yeah, I spoke to someone who is, yeah, because there's actually, you can test yourself. There's ways, there's tests made to see which level you're at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I spoke with someone who's tested it, turquoise, and he said that there's this like deep, you start to have these deep intuitions, basically deep intuitions about the world, about the universe, and you're really intuitively coming up with problems. Yeah, it's interesting. And it's interesting because, you know, turquoise, obviously, if you look at these, it's a lot of, you get a lot of spiritual themes. Yeah, it's like LSD, exactly. So there's a lot of spiritual themes here. And, you know, green often thinks of themselves as turquoise, but there's, I think, a vast difference between the turquoise and green. Yeah, so let me see if we have some turquoise examples. Sadhguru, if anyone's heard of Sadhguru, Ken Wilber, obviously KW, who made integral theory. Then there is Rupert Sheldrake is often quoted as one. Who else do we have? David Hawkins, Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts. I'm not sure if I agree with all of these examples, actually. I think it's really easy to project something. Like, my personal opinion is that with the turquoise, it's easy to project people who are spiritual and then project on them that they are turquoise. But I think there's just this, with turquoise, there's this deep complexity and like systems thinking going on. You know, it's staged beyond yellow, where yellow is like, it's about systems, and it's really about like, it's very complex. Yeah, turquoise is very complex, and I think quite often just people that are spiritual leaders who have, you know, wisdom are put in this bracket, but are maybe not necessarily coming from the stage. But, you know, who am I to judge? I don't know, but that's just my thoughts. So yeah. So yeah, I'm seeing these examples, and I'm not sure if I want to actually say all of them as being examples of turquoise necessarily, because I can't even. Cool. I can't even judge. But basically, turquoise is crazy, baby.
Was that the top one?
Yeah, that's, well, in spirodynamics, that's the top one. But you have other developmental models where they have stages even beyond the turquoise level. And that's because you can study that on an individual level. Like the ego line of development, there's like 4 or 5 levels I've seen beyond turquoise, but that's a topic for another time. Yeah, any questions on turquoise, which I have no idea about, basically? I'm actually.
Oh, I know, but can you say there's like there's a stage which integrates all colors or something?
Yeah, oh man, that's such a good point. That's something I should have said at yellow. So basically, there's first tier and second tier. So when you get to first tier, you see the world from your viewpoint. But at second tier yellow, then you start to integrate all of the other colors. So that's when you can start to communicate to the colors. You integrate it in yourself, and that's why it's integral. And that's an important part about this, is that once you're at second tier, it's very beneficial for you and the rest of the world, because you can speak to everyone, you can understand everyone, and you can, get on much better in this world. It's 10:02, so I think we have to close this down, because we're going to get kicked out.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have to be out of here pretty soon.
Yeah. So let's do just a little wrap up goodbye. So thank you all. This was a very rapid fire introduction to spirodynamics and integral theory. I think it's good to have this now in our, I've lost all my words, in our
library,
in our talkies, so that we can talk about it. And yeah, and then we're going to do some other videos relating to this later, but this is sort of the intro one. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your questions. And live long and prosper.